Hey everybody, how's it going today? I've been sitting out here in the front yard for about 5 minutes. I haven't turned the camera on. You know, usually I come out, set the camera up, and I start making a video, and I just didn't know how to tackle this one. I wasn't even going to make it. I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. You know, it's just such a wide field of discussion, and it's difficult to explain, but it's along the lines of, this world's fucking crazy. People are not, I know a lot of folks say that the world's getting crazy, that people are getting weirder, I believe it's always been this way. But here's what I believe is happening. All through history, we've been able to mask our strangeness in a way, even to the times when we started. There was a time when, say, what we would call someone who is insane, they were celebrated, the crazy folk, but we started locking them away, and really beyond the scientific studies that were done on people like that, which were horrible, there was the aspect of keeping it out of sight, out of mind, away from civilized society. And, through a few centuries back when manners became a big thing in Europe, and, the idea that people learned how to be appropriate, learned how to have manners, learned how to properly set the silverware at the table, and where to put their napkins, shit like that. And still to this day, a lot of folks try to hang on to this kind of proper upbringing. And to a degree, it's what makes us what we consider ourselves to be civil. Okay, we realize as a species that if you strip off the clothes, and we're really just beasts that happen to have a language and opposable thumbs, and enough intelligence to create things that are a little more advanced than our counterparts, our friends and animals. But that's allowed us to separate ourselves completely from society, from nature, not from society. Our society has separated itself from nature and created religions and laws, and gave ourselves the idea that the earth was put here for us, that seed-bearing plants and herbs were put here for mankind, and all the animals are here for us to eat, and all this whole religious notion that we are above nature. But now we know better. We're learning and understanding genetics better to see that even a grain of rice, I think, has twice the amount of genetic information that we have. They are our ancestors, point being. We were put here for the plants, if anything. But I think the reason I'm mentioning that is because I feel like all of this information, all this scientific knowledge that we're gaining, is scaring us as a species more than we thought it would actually relieve us. We figured discovering things and learning things would help us to better live in our world, and in some ways it has. But we've also had to let go of a lot of our, archaic beliefs that now can be disproven. We know now that the Earth is not 6,000 years old, for example, but there are still millions of people who fight to prove that it is. And, the idea that we delude ourselves to fit our status, to, fit what we want to believe, it's, confirmation bias, selective reasoning. And what this has led to in the internet era is something that, where it's just people just seem to not be interested in learning anything, and not interested in the truth, not interested in the proper information about the situation that's going on. They want to hear what they want to hear, and they selectively listen to what they want to hear, which confirms what they want to believe. And this is done because humans are scared. Some of the people who talk the toughest, some of these hardcore right-wingers, they're scared people. I mean, they're afraid of... Hey, Jerry! They're afraid of something happening to them. They're afraid of somebody coming and taking their job, somebody coming and taking their, you know, whatever it might be. You know, people want to have a weapon and they want to be able to protect themselves. There's nothing wrong with some of these ideas. You know, we as humans, we do need to protect ourselves, and we need to be aware that we have these primal needs to fulfill. We have these primal fears that are hard to conquer. And to truly be in charge of one's life, in my opinion, means that you have no fear of anything. Now, of course, you have to be scared of certain things. You know, if someone's coming to stab you, you have to be aware of this. But you know what I mean when I'm saying this. Having no fear of death is the ultimate thing to conquer, but that's very difficult to do, and I don't think anyone ever really overcomes it completely. But that ties in perfectly with religion and why religion was formed. It was a way to help us move on with our lives and cope with death, because we don't want to. We thought that if we didn't have something to work towards, if we didn't have something to fulfill, somebody to worship, then life would seem pointless, and that's how we got nihilism and why there's so many defeatists out there. But you don't have to believe in nothing. You create your own reality, in a sense. But this has led to the biggest problem that we have today, which is that there are just so many ignorant people out there. And I don't mean to say that they're stupid people or dumb people. I don't mean to say that they don't have the capability. A lot of them don't. A lot of us don't. I'm not capable in many ways too. But if I'm not capable in a certain way, you know, let's say if it's physical, obviously, you know, I'm not that strong. I couldn't lift as much as a buff guy, but that's not where I want to do my heavy lifting. I want to do my heavy lifting up here, but not even mentally, not even to be intelligent or to have knowledge, but to be able to live a happier life. Because I don't want to project my desires into obsessive, like I already have an addictive personality, and I know that. I shouldn't say, you know, people say you shouldn't use the personality because there's no real addictive personality, but there is. It's just, that's how I'm defining it. Some of us, you know, I gotta have my cup of coffee in the morning, you know, I've got my vape. There's certain things that I just accept as being part of me as a flaw, because I know that many of our addictions are to fill a void, and for most of us, many of us, that void, if it's not, you know, spiritual in nature, it's you come to a certain point in life where you think, well, I've already been through the phase where I realized that everything I know could be bullshit, and that maybe I don't know as much as I thought. Then you go through a phase where you think, okay, now I have this figured out, and now I've lost this, now I don't have this, I have this. Really, all I'm yearning for in the end is just to have a better understanding of the world around me so I can live in it easier. But I feel like many people are not interested in the truth. They're not interested in facts. They're not interested in what's really going on in the world. They just want to hear what makes them comfortable in their little bubble. And so about, 10, 15 years ago, I could say, well, there's not, unless they have the books and the right information, people won't really know. But in the day of the internet, there's no excuse. Now we're finally all connected. And I see so much ignorant bullshit around me. It's just endless, everything from politics to advertisements. Our society is going insane. But that's just the thing. It's always been that way. We were too big for our own britches. We really thought we had grown and matured enough to handle these new toys that we had created. The weapons, which, weapons are, mankind's big, for the U.S., we sell half the weapons in the world. And, it's big business. There's a whole segment of the U.S. population who has been ranting and raving for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades about how they're going to take our guns. And I've always said the same thing. There's more guns every single year, and it's the biggest distraction to think that anyone wants to take your guns. The government has no desire to take your guns. They want to give you guns. They want you to buy guns. They want people to be scared and buy weapons. And this is what I found interesting was, when Obama took office, I argued with several people who said that he was going to take our guns. And I said, mark my words, in 8 years there will be more guns than there were before. And there were, and there are. The month Trump took office, stock prices plummeted the next day after he became president with gun sales in a few companies, and have been steadily, they've been much lower than normal. And this is because the type of person who goes out and buys firearms for protection is different than the person who goes out and buys one for target practice or merely, hobby shooting or whatnot. A person will go out and buy a gun because they're told that they're going to take your AR-15s. So AR-15 sales just go through the roof. And they know this. So this is what the right has been playing, which they are in the pockets of the NRA. They've been playing people forever by saying, hey, they're going to take your guns, you better get one quick. And the people buy all the ammunition and buy all the guns, but in the end find out that they completely played you. This is just one example of many, and one because I was just looking into the actual statistics on, guns and how many we make and how many we sell, and how, we're telling ourselves that we're scared of people in the Middle East, that Muslims are a big threat. But the most oppressive Muslim nation of them all is Saudi Arabia, and we sell them. We just made another $1 billion arms deal on top of $25 billion that we've done over the past decade or so. $25 billion. So then we sell weapons to Iran. Okay, this is just common knowledge. You can look it up, and people still are in complete denial and still think that these people are a threat and they want to take your guns. I'm not going to say that there aren't people who do. I'm just saying that in the big picture, there's a lot of delusion towards wanting to believe that you're under threat. And I believe this stems from that fear factor from within us. And if we can learn to get to that subconscious and get to that lower the depth and really dig and say, why do I feel the way I feel? Am I scared? Or am I just pretending like I'm confident? Because I'll admit, I consider myself a confident person, but I'm a scared human too. We're all in that together. We all have that, unless you're a complete sociopath, you have moments of doubt about everything, and that's okay. That's how you grow. That's how I grow anyway, is the moments when I doubt myself and trying to understand why. But in the end, the most important thing to me is getting to the bottom of it for the sake of the truth, to know what the truth is. Not to delude myself into something that feels good or feels right. I'm not going to say that a person shouldn't have beliefs that they can't prove. But when those beliefs affect other people negatively, that's something to consider. So, my ramble. I think that's my ramble. Yeah, it got pretty long. So I'll talk to you all later, and I guess if I were to leave with a parting note, it's that it's okay to say people are stupid if you can admit that you're stupid too. And I don't mean that offensively, of course. Just to realize that we really are just hairless apes. As my friend and I used to say, we're just hairless apes. And when we grew, during the Industrial Revolution, what it's done for us is allowed us to work less. And what has happened is, through our own desire and our own efforts over the past few centuries, we've mechanized everything and automated everything. And then we have these same people in office telling us that they're going to bring back these jobs that can't exist anymore, merely because people really desperately want a job. And I'm saying these political, issues because these are the things that people hear consistently from those who call themselves leaders. And we forget that those are just people, those are also hairless apes, just wearing a suit. There's no difference between you and, a senator, or a congressman. It's the only difference is that they have worked their way through this synthetic system, this ladder, to get where they're at. And that makes us believe that they put in some great effort to be a good person? No, of course not. There are some real scumbags out there that are working supposedly for the benefit of people. And these are folks who have absolutely no interest in our well-being. Their only interest is profits. And people have spent billions of dollars over the years learning how people think, learning how you think, in order to better advertise and sell you not just things, but ideas. And propaganda is a well-known technique. And propaganda isn't just fake news. Propaganda is truly well thought out, orchestrated fear-mongering in order to get people to become nationalistic, to stand behind a country, false flag attacks in order to go to war. A false flag is thrown around today like, it's such a ridiculous term at this point because so many people abuse it. No, not every shooting is a false flag attack to take your guns. And that goes back to what I was saying about guns. There's more guns than ever, but they want you to think that they're going to take your guns. The idea of a real false flag is, sinking the Lusitania or, bombing in Cambodia and having all these, ideas that we need to protect ourselves against an invisible enemy, because if there's no enemy, the war machine cannot continue. If there's no enemy, then people will start asking, why do we still have these weapons? So, as long as they have you deluded into thinking you need to protect yourself, and in some places you do, some places it definitely doesn't hurt to have a weapon, but that's not for the sake of because everyone else wants to shoot you. It's because everyone else has been convinced as well that you want to shoot them. And, that's why we're at where we're at. I really believe that we have allowed those who have represented us through, not just here, I'm not talking about the current administration or even American politics, I'm talking worldwide leadership has been horrible and has led us down the wrong direction, down the wrong path every time. And this is why societies continue to collapse, and ours won't be far behind. And I really believe that at this point, people don't want to hear anything anymore that really matters, and so it's best to just resign ourselves to trying to explain ourselves to the groups we can, who do want to know. People are strange. That's what I was thinking when I was going to start this, actually. It's like people are truly odd. But to say that is to assume that there's a standard human, and there's not. We're all different. But some of the leeches are really starting to come out of the woodwork. There's some real scumbags running my country, and it's pretty sickening and disheartening, but there's not a lot you can do. It's unfortunate that, well, there are things we can do, of course, It's like fighting. Like when people say we can't do anything about it, of course there are things you can do. And this is the point I made the other day to somebody who was saying you can't stop them if they want to ban something. And I said, well, they wanted to ban Kratom last fall, and we fought like hell to get it legalized and keep it. All of us contributed time and effort and made videos and made phone calls and wrote our senators and signed petitions and kept it legal. And now we have, it's not to say it will be forever, but the point is that the people can fight back and win. This was just legislation we were involved in. There were things like this happen all the time. If you're not gay, it's not likely that you're spending a lot of time signing gay rights bills or trying to sign petitions to legalize gay marriage. And if you're not female, it's not likely that you're out fighting for reproductive rights. But all of us are fighting for our own individual things, and we forget that we need to work together as a team in a way and support each other's causes so long as they're legitimate causes. And that's, I think, where the problem comes in. Not knowing what's legitimate and what's a bunch of crap to get your money or to try to get you to, give to some charity or, everybody's become wary. We're all suspicious about one another. We're all suspicious about the world, and that's the way people like it. That's the way the people in charge like it. They don't want you to think that your neighbor is a good person. They want you to think your neighbor's going to kill you because that's good for sales. So I have no idea if mankind will be able to pull our heads out of our ass in time to not destroy ourselves, but time will tell. Have a good day, everybody. Hope that was a little not enlightening exactly there, so, reality, right? I'll talk to y'all on the flip side.